Right, my bad point is actually a little bit controversial because I actually think it's going to be about Na'Vi. I actually think most people, despite their most recent results, do think Na'Vi has actually like sort of taken a step in the right direction. Like the Makaze pickup looks good actually. I thought that was I wasn't that familiar with that player. I watched like the King T video before, like everyone probably did. When I watched him in the games, it looks like it's working generally. I can see why they did that move. It even seems, by the way, like JL was the person whose head was out of the game, even though they had a lot of problems elsewhere. The reason I picked it as bad though is not only am I doing it because the timing's perfect. Like, they've just bombed out of 2 tournaments where on paper you're supposed to just win these games. Remember, after the Cologne run, that looked like all signs are pointing up. Like, hey, maybe actually Na'Vi's back. Like, maybe Na'Vi's what I said about Mongols before. You don't have to actually beat the Spirits of the world. But I'll tell you what, if you're the gatekeeper and you only lose to Mouse and Vitality and Spirit and maybe Falcons in the future, that's still okay for now. You know, that's still like all good holding position. I actually think it was like a mirage, guys. I think it was fool's gold. I actually do think this team had way bigger problems than just JL minus plus Makaze. And I think those problems are only going to compound. And actually, when I look at the top 10 right now, it actually looks like we're starting to get other teams like, put it this way, the joke is this. That move, if it worked on paper, should have brought Na'Vi closer to Mongols. If anything, I think Na'Vi's going to fall down the top 10 and Mongols is going to go up, mate. Like, I could see this team, like, by the end of this season being like the 10th best team or something. I'm worried. Like, I have my concerns. I think the map pool's a fucking mess still. Also, by the way, I'm not usually a fan, you know this, of doing the, like, look at the player cams. Bro, the actual body language of this team is fucking dog shit though. And that one player change did not fix it like it sometimes does. Like, so that wasn't just like jail or whatever was the one fucking them up. Like they look like they themselves, like I don't even think they believe this is the roster, man. I think this, I feel like this is almost like a dead team walking. I said it's a controversial take though. So what are your thoughts on Na'Vi?
Yeah, I thought about this for a lot of last season, that I was like definitely in the minority that I thought JL was the kind of the problem. And I'd be interested to see exactly how his removal actually happened. Because I feel like they really set him up for success. And I've said this, I've never got a positive reinforcement for this take, but I will continue saying it, that I just think that he was constantly put in really, really positive engagements and just wasn't winning them. And you can bring Makaze in, and I think he's done about as well or better than you could have expected from him. But the problem, I think, from Na'Vi, I mean, they have like, I see their calling. I think their calling is really good. Their halves build out really effectively. But then I look at the players and they almost seem like, I mean, we kind of what we talked about earlier, like in terms of being perfect versus being random. I think they're stuck in limbo between the two. Like they can't decide if they want to play a 3v1 in the perfect style or they want to play it in the, you know, kind of like individual style. And so I see players that like they're just clearly on 2 completely separate pages. They're not peaking together. And so I see them lose like against 3D Max. I think they lost like 2 or maybe even 3 3v5s in one map that were just like one player is trying to play for the retake. They're like, there's one on Inferno I'm thinking of specifically. They're 4v2. One player lets them into B so they can play the retake, but then they go for the retake and the retake is just like, they're just on different pages in the retake. Or like a player like Wonderful somehow misses, he's kind of like got the Brokey thing where he just misses the shot at the exact moment when he needs to land the shot. But for the rest of the game, he's like pretty good. But they seem, the way I feel is like they lost faith in each other as individuals. Like one player is just not trusting his teammate to make the right play. So he tries to move outside of the system and make a play that he doesn't need to make. And then the other player is like trapped and he's like, okay, well, what do I do now? And then they so often have like 2 players that just make kind of a mistake in succession where you could have just, it could have worked perfectly if they just pugged it and played like just kind of more swingy. I don't know what the problem is though. I don't know even how you fix that. I think this is like a good bad point or like even an ugly point. Cause like, how do you fix it? Like they look, in theory, they do a lot of so many things right, but then they just, when you get into it, it's just, they just not playing like a team like they did when they, you know, for so much of last year. This is not the Na'Vi I remember. And I don't even have an idea how.
Listen, I know you mean rhetorically, how do you fix it? But listen, if you give me 20 minutes, a really nice cup of coffee for Blade, and a PowerPoint presentation where I go through Maui's points about Immer's fraudulent I am Rio MVP, and then I just short a 10-minute Elise frag movie, I think I can fix it.
Yeah. I mean, actually, unironically, that was one of the best Maui takes I've ever heard.
It was a pretty good one. I can't lie, you nailed it.
I disagreed with the other half of that take because I think that it was trade and it's going to fix both their problems. I do think a Liege for Na'Vi would be an incredible play.
No, the joke was the trade was the ass part. It's like, how does that make FaZe better? Like, but listen, if it's like we're only giving a fuck about Na'Vi, I actually think it's a banger take. It is. It's a good one. It's a good one.
That take was a few months ago, and now Kassad tweets that Elise should go to Na'Vi. And then Dust2 writes an article about it, and it's like, that was my take. But I mean, to contribute to it, I feel like, unfortunately, also Na'Vi have a couple players that are really quite good, but they're just not that elite level, and everybody else just kind of also has that. I agree that the structure and even the way they build rounds, like they cause a bit of, they still can cause misdirection. They still get kills on opponents looking the wrong way. Their T sides, they're serving. By
the way, it's also another one of those teams where, like, they actually do win good T rounds. Their real problem is closing games out, guys. Like, that's their problem. They can put rounds on the board, they just can't win the game.
Yeah. So without having that superstar player that's supposed to play the most pivotal active position, you are always kind of playing with, you're basically having to strive for perfection. Yes. And that's why I was really hesitant, actually, kind of a tangent, but when I was making my most recent updated who are the best players of the year list, I think the most contentious player to not make it was Bit. A lot of people were frustrated that Bit wasn't on my list, actually, but I don't always see the games where he actually really brings them over the line. By the end of it, he'll actually have some pretty good numbers, but it just doesn't have that factor of getting them to that point. And it's never really a single man's task to just get it over for a team. But you would expect that if he's amongst the company that has now developed in the top 20 players.
He's also supposed to potentially be a generational player too, though, Mo. He's supposed to not just be an average player. On paper, he should be their best player, right?
On paper, I mean, he has the most skill. Yeah. I think he's easily the most skillful player on that team. Yeah, so I just don't always feel I mean, I see the impact in certain rounds, but it's just kind of, late round's a good way to frame it because it's, or late in a map, because it's not really just delivering them those pivotal 2 or 3 kills. I don't know if that's Na'Vi forcing him into a certain type of situation, which you're really only guaranteed the one with, but I don't know. I would like to see Na'Vi shake it up.
But this way,
I'm still there with the Elish take. I still would want Elish to be on this team.
Right. I will say I had zero anticipation they would lose to 3D Max. But put it this way, I even did cynically bet on Astralis in the Blast Bounty one. I thought that was there all day long, mate. Like, am I being too harsh? What do you actually think of, like, if you project forwards, both of you, what do you think of the future of this Na'Vi? If they keep this, assuming it's this 5-man line, but they're not bringing Liege in or some big blockbuster move. By the way, as an aside, I'll just throw this out there. You know how I always made the point, Maui, that, like, as soon as Na'Vi the org and Simple the player made it clear, like, I'm not playing with Russians or in a Russian team, we can stop doing the whole what if Donk joined Na'Vi type thing. As far as I know, I won't speak out of school, I believe it's the case that, like, Zontix will not be joining Na'Vi and they don't want to associate with him for reasons that are political that we don't need to get into. It's just about the way fucking the country works, basically. So what do you actually think? If this 5-man lineup of Na'Vi plays out the rest of the season, what's your anticipation? Am I being too harsh? Do you have them doing better? Do they make a run? What do you think?
8th is probably a reasonable. The thing is, like, individually, I think they have a decent roster, but so many other teams they've just been growing, and Na'Vi has been shrinking. Like, and I think Bit's a great one to point out because obviously everyone's going to talk about Ime. His fragging's not that great. They're going to talk about Wonderful. He's really kind of up and down. I think he's been pretty decent recently, but, like, he's had some pretty tough.
Even though, by the way, I'll acknowledge he's not a superstar AWP, but whenever they say, like, Wonderful, I'm already out. I'm tapped out. I can't do this. This is garbage, guys. You guys suck.
I think he's kind of carried by his rifling too. Like,
he's also pretty good rifler, actually. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So it's just like Bits, the reason I think Bits like a good shout is because he is the one that I've seen I most attribute the idea of losing faith in the rest of the team to. Like, it feels like if I was to look at 2024, Bit played like perfect style CS. Like, he played so effectively, so many scenarios. And 2025, I feel like he gets a little antsy. Like, if I wait for my team to do this, we're going to lose. So that's why I just feel like if they make a roster change, I feel like the upside is so huge. If they got Elige on this team, that would make such a huge difference. Just to like shake up, because they've talked about it, like we know each other too well, like type of thing. Like I just think they need something to kind of shake up the identity a little bit and get everyone to buy back in, because that's what I kind of see right now, is that just the players don't necessarily believe in each other the way they did in 2024. Like they don't think they're going to win a close game. If it's 11-11, I feel like in their team speak, they're like, we've already fucking lost. It's over.
Also, I'll just throw this out there. I actually do think as well, this is one where the people in this team shouldn't be like Shaw's criticising them. Because aside from random people on HLTV writing Wonderful or saying images eco-frags, I actually get the sense, by the way, one of the reasons why all of us praised Na'Vi last year is, I think a lot of people, if you're a fan of like nerdy CS, then your favourite fucking team to watch. Like, I think everyone I know who's an analyst pulls for Na'Vi and wants the squad to work and respects Blade and thinks Alexi B is good and bits underrated and all. They want this team to be good. We actually want this team to like showcase what CS2 T-side can do, and fuck it. In fact, I even think the coolest thing last year is it even sort of counters the noobs, doesn't it? Like they didn't need to have Monacy or Don Cozzy, they could still beat those teams even without that. That's actually sort of like the essence of CS. Whereas, yeah, the fan does just do like every basketball fan. They just give a fuck about the star player and how many points he scores and did he make an amazing shot. Like that is a very limited, reductive way of looking at CS though, which is a team game with tactics and utility. So
see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.